Beauty calls and gives no warning. Shadows rise and wander on the day. In the twilight, in the quiet evening.
And Cheryl asked me to bring the didgeridoo. She seems to like the didgeridoo, and it's, it's a thing called, we call it didgeridoo, and that's what the people that discovered the Aboriginals discovered. But they called it Iadaki, but the people that discovered them heard it, and they heard didgeridoo, so that's how it got its name, that we call it.
Called A Brief History of Fun. Of all the things to think of now as I look back, I don't think I had much fun. Not that I'm from fun people. My parents didn't have fun. Their parents didn't have food. That's why they came to America. That's what it meant in 1910. An end to Easter pogroms, an end to conscription, an end to hunger. Not that there was always food in America, but it was better. Here, the children had a chance. America was a country where the children had a chance. My grandparents had difficult lives. My parents did better. From that better, my generation emerged. We knew the language. We went to school and kept going. We had to, because our parents never had the opportunity. Education was the opportunity in the land of opportunity. Now we're parents and grandparents of a generation that's having fun, something my grandparents never heard of. They're real Americans, nothing hyphenated about it. No first generation shame, no second generation guilt. Still, I wonder, how can you know who you are if you don't know where you've come from, don't see where you're going? Imagine in 100 years going from not having enough to eat to working out, spin classes, fussing over your diet and your BMI, from walking out of Russia with only the clothes they wore. They walked for weeks, to riding around national parks, 30 miles a day on fancy touring bicycles, for fun. And I'm the only one who's known them all. The grandparents who walked out of Russia and the grandchildren on their bikes. When I finally close my eyes, it will be as if my grandparents and parents never were. I get texts from my grandchildren's smartphones. I see their photos on mine an instant later from 2,500 miles away. In 1920, when my grandmother's sister died in Russia, she didn't find out about it for 4 months. What I wish is that all of us could meet, grandparents, grandchildren, everyone in between. Would feel awkward at first, but between stories of the old country, showing off the smartphones, and questions of how you say this in Yiddish or English, amidst the grandparents' dark, heavy clothes, and the grandchildren's neon bright outfits, I'd like to think there would come a moment of recognition. And in that moment, we would all know who we are. Thank you.
Relationships are the most complex thing we will ever deal with. And if you find someone to love, hold on for dear life. 2 short poems. Discourse and Permanence. If discourse and permanence compelled, would you still reach for me when you begin to undress? Would it be my pillow you think you're stealing? Would you still look sexy in just my favorite sweatshirt? That favorite sweatshirt that now carries the light air of you? Would the absence of my touch confuse your senses? When I held your hand, you said you felt it in your heart. If discourse and permanence compelled, mine would be forever lonely. And my second poem on the same subject, Dishes. No, not broken. The dishes are still in the sink. I hate when things are a mess. But tonight, like many other nights, I'll go upstairs and lie down next to my wife. And with the light of the street or the moon, I'll look at her aging face and her graying hair and think how crazy in love with her I still am. And that's enough to warm any man's heart on a cold winter evening. Thank you.
When my parents always had a Christmas card, and my mother would write a poem about it. And when I finally was born, the little verse about me went, I know that you've been waiting to see me make my bow on Friar and Elizabeth's Christmas card, so I haste to do it now. That was my introduction on their Christmas card. And each year there was something different. I always loved to pretend the characters. Libby loves pretending the books she reads each day, knows many lines from Sarah Crew, quotes marches like Louisa May. For Little Women was my I got the book when I was 6. Now, when you're 6, there's no way on earth you could identify with Joe, right? So I was a Beth because I was shy and I liked kittens. But the picture on our Christmas card has me as Meg with a long skirt and my Easter bonnet and a jacket and violets at my waist. and gloves. But I really wanted to be Beth. I didn't have a Beth costume. I asked my grandma Etta, who lived in Indiana, and she said, "What in tarnation is a Beth costume?" But Etta, being Etta, complied beautifully. I had white pantalettes and a red gingham dress, and my braids. I looked just like Beth March. But you know, that costume was also really good for Becky Thatcher from Tom Sawyer. Well, as time went by, I began to see the wisdom of my sixth grade self, because who did I really turn out to be but Meg? And this was made very clear when I had twins. I didn't know, just like Meg, she had Demi and Desi, but my twins were Tom and Allison. But that was another little link to Meg March, or Anna Alcott. Now, Anna Alcott, the real one, the oldest sister, was a wonderful actress. I just found that out recently. She loved to be in plays, and she and Louisa founded the Concord Players, or some group of that in Concord, where they put on plays. And Anna went to an audition for this play with the terrible name of The Loan of a Lover. Strange title. And that was where, at those auditions, she met her husband, John Pratt, who had come from a distance to also audition. And I was wondering if that was how I met my husband, at an audition for a play. And we had a routine that was backstage. It was The Good Woman of Szechuan, Bertolt Brecht. And he was cast as the aviator, the flyer, and I was cast as his mother. And he invented this routine for us to do backstage. He would come up to me and say, "Mother," and I would say, "Oedipus." I wonder if Anna and John had a similar routine. Well, I just saw that beautiful new movie. And I love how they end it with the printing of Little Women. And you see the pages coming off of the presses, and you see it being bound in red leather. And then you see the gold letters being printed that say Little Women. And this is my copy. This is the copy of Little Women that I got when I was 6 years old. And on the cover, printed on this old ratty binding, it says Libby Fryermuth in gold.
I'm going to read 2 short poems. First is called Joey. Joey was a family man who loved his wife and children, his softball buddies, and classic rock. He was sent to fight for his country in a land blessed with oil. After being trained in righteous use of weaponry, to subjugate without qualm, became expert soon enough. He never realized what a thrill ruthless mayhem could be, in defiling, then destroying a whole village and its inhabitants. Wanton perks of condoned savagery. It all seemed like a movie. Little did he know. Upon returning home when his tour was up, Joey resumed his previous career, and the joy of normal life returned, only to disappear every night in his dreams. That's that one. This one's called Creationism. Creator created a world, gave it a spin, and said, "You're on your own now, earthlings. Go forth and create. Life, art, merriment." This creator did not say, "Create fortunes, empires, mayhem." Yet we did so anyway. And down through the ages we have vacillated towards and away from said Creator's volition. So you wonder what point on the pendulum is your lot to be living in. Gaze around, waving fists in the air, demanding, where is the art? Thank you.
So today is on the occasion of my husband's 59th birthday. He would have been 59 today. We were together for 37 years. And since he passed in June, I decided to renovate the bathroom. And in renovating the bathroom, I needed another shower because there was only one, so I built an outdoor shower. And so I wanted to give you that background before I read this poem. It's called Building a Family. It's early fall, and the leaves are mostly still holding on, mostly still green. But as I feel the warm water wash over me, enclosed in my new outdoor shower, a gust of wind brings down gifts from above, the yellows and browns of early leaves, in my hair, on my breast, and they join me in the suds. I am brought back to that summer in Martha's Vineyard, when you, my son, Ben, Dad, and I used to shower at the rental on a sunny afternoon, all sandy from the beach, together, naked and laughing. You were new to walking and talking, but not to singing. Together we sang the Bob the Builder song, loudly enough so the whole neighborhood could hear. The confidence of "Can we build it? Yes, we can," was more than about Bob's animated tools and talking trucks. It was about building a life, the three of us, of the triangle cheers at the dinner table, of the music we made in the living room, the meals we made in the kitchen. It was about love. It was all of the ways of seeping into our hearts. We did build it, and we will forever have it. No matter where you are, where I am, where Dad has gone, we are together in our hearts. Now showering here alone, I can hear our singing and laugh and cry all at once, rejoicing and sorrow-filled, but very, very lucky to be alive and full of love for us. Thank you.
Happy New Year and welcome to 2020. I've been listening lately to Jean Houston's work regarding the age of consciousness, the who, what are you, and what you can be. The late Dr. Wayne Dyer's work on eternal lifelines, greater one-like consciousness, and more recently, Jaidev Singh's lunar eclipse, international power of light meditation, about staying connected, about what are we really here to do. And lastly, I was exposed through one of Cheryl's venues at the Labyrinth Roundtable to Linda Hoffman's work as a poet, author, sculptress, and organic orchidist. And she spoke of her major learning curves that have made her who she is, her Mark post. She said something rather profound in her talk. She said her apples taught her to wait. She would climb into the branches of her apple trees, finding stillness and peace, and become one with the universe. Rather than rushing into making New Year's resolutions for 2020, I would ask you to wait and give yourself the gift of time, letting the signs, the callings, if you will, come to you in the branches of your own personal apple trees. I give you my poem, The Gift of Time, that comes from my book that I published last year, Gabriel's Light, Spiritual Poetic Musings. The Gift of Time. an unexpected accident, a planned surgery, a time for service to others, an anticipated vacation, a tear in the fabric of time. First, it appears as needed. Questions may arise as to why this space of contemplation is essential, a prerequisite to the next phase of renewal. We've all been there, at that juncture that wants quiet reflection for movement along another path to occur, open to the possibilities of the new now. We wet our lips, tasting the nuances, the subtle meanings, distinct responses that set a future tone, a future blueprint to give allegiance to. These tears are meant for our learning and should be revered, rather than held in some phrased disequilibrium that ego wishes us to hear from its wells of insecurity. Do not heed lame warnings of unwarranted cautions. Rather persevere in the knowing that a new bridge is forming of our own making, set in motion long before we felt its coming. Ask for the signs of what is to come, and they will be revealed in good time as we construct transitional routes to fresh destinations. By opening self to these inner prospects, we are allowed to perceive the joy of creating novel patterns of existence, raising the universal voice in service to all. No matter the circumstances, these gifts of time are what growth and love are made of, and should be accepted with grace in the spirit of which they have been granted. After all, we wrote these tenets when we were merely thoughts, perched on the precipice of birth, a newly launched incarnation. Who are we to dishonor ourselves? The light in me honors and respects the light in all of you. Namaste, and have a wonderful 2020.
There is a fire in the lashes of my eyes, said Mary. The blinding blaze of the world leapt highways, skipped treetop to treetop for her because she was awake. Elijah was awake too and ran scared for miles, sheltered in a cave God used as his own mouth to ask the man, "What are you doing here?" Climb the mountain of your own heart, which is also cavernous, wind-whipped. There is a tornado in the moonshell of your ear, a fire at your heels. What are you doing here? Say this: I am learning to hear the gathered force of the world, to read the Richter scale of my own mind. I am sifting ash through cold, cracked hands for clues. I am learning it is all new every time I give my voice to the song that does not wish to be a sigh. What are you doing here but learning to venture a reply? And the second is called acceptance. Mel, you referred to the given lines that come to us. This first line is a given line. Acceptance. I am coming into a kindness. I am coming into the weight of a kindness whose shape is waiting to lift the weight of me to a lightness. I am coming into a kindness. I am coming into the cradle of your hand, a likeness of stone, once sand, into the hold of all that is timeless. I am coming into a kindness. I am coming into the weight of a kindness, pressed to your likeness by word and breath, here in the cleft where kindness comes in. Thank you.
This is called the Anger Mart. I'm stopping by the Anger Mart to pick up some things to be upset about. They're having a sale on illegal immigration, but it smells fishy, even though they insist there's no hatred in it. I could linger all day in the NRA aisle, but time is running short. So I grab a box of Trump tweets, a can of Sean Hannity stew, and head on over to the checkout counter. On the way, I notice some casualties in Afghanistan. They're in the middle aisle. For fatalities, they seem underpriced, and the label tells me why. Civilians, non-white, it says in fine print. The Anger Mart is not a good place to get tragic news. So tomorrow, when I have more compassion in my wallet, I'll pay a visit to the Sorrow Store. And this was a poem about 9/11. All of a sudden it seems, relevant today. After it happened, we gathered with strangers of different faiths, Muslims, Christians, different races, holding hands and singing loud. We shall overcome someday. In back rooms and inside caves, plans were already being made to drown our music out, to silence the music of all the earth with one single relentless note, the beating of the drums.
The dreams we could not win. Under the flaming leaves, freezes the sky, it is the season grieves. Not you, not I. Oh, we have awakened sweet and had our birth, and that's the end of earth. And we have toiled and smiled and kept the light, and that's the end of night.